All right, before we get the show started, I have to give a huge shout out to a special group of individuals that I like to call my Patreon podcast producers. And you know what? They're all on Instagram, so make sure you give them a follow. Daryl at Your Level Fitness, Kaitlyn at Kaitlyn Elise, put 3 Y's in her name, Crystal at Reduced Fat Mama, Joey at Joey Losing Weight, Vanessa at Vanessa Ray's Journey, and Amanda at Mutts_and_miles. These guys are helping this show to move forward in a huge, huge way. And if you want to join this special group of individuals, make sure you stay tuned at the very end of the show for more details. Are you Team Apple? I got to shout out all of you checking out this show right now on an iPhone, iPad, etc. In fact, nearly 70% of you are listening to me on one of these devices. It would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review. This is one of the best things that you can do for this podcast to help get the word out. And while you're at it, leave reviews for some of your other favorite shows. I bet they would really dig it. Oh, yeah! Welcome to the podcast. This is our very first conversation. How about that?
Yeah.
What did you think about that? Just like jumping on Skype with a complete stranger, I guess, for lack of a better term.
I mean, it's interesting. I talk to strangers a lot, I guess. Not usually for a long time. Usually it's just a quick phone call for work, but
yeah. I mean, it's kind of what Instagram's all about. I mean, I don't want to use stranger in like a negative connotation, but like, you know, on a community, it's like we're all kind of together, but in a sense, it's like, wow, I'm just going to jump on a phone call with somebody. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. What can you say, like what industry you're in maybe?
I do customer service and accounting for a pretty small company.
That's cool. That's cool. I work in marketing. It's kind of the day job. Marketing by day, podcaster by night.
There you go.
How long have you been on? How long have you been on this kind of fitness journey, health journey?
I guess this time around since the end of January.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like it's been a couple of times.
Yeah, you know, ups and downs. It's never usually lasted more than like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, ups and downs for maybe 8 or 9 years.
I can definitely relate. I would say it's probably been about the same time for me as well. It's like, you know, you jump off, you jump on, you jump off. You know, it's kind of these ups and downs, and at some point it sticks, but we constantly chase and wonder, like, when is it going to be that time?
Yeah. When is it going to stick?
You know, at what point in life would you say, do you recall, like, I guess health becoming an issue for you? I think some of us, it's childhood, some of us it's teenage years. What was it for you?
For me, it was college. So right after high school is when I started gaining weight and didn't notice it at first. And I think really it was just because I was out on my own and didn't have all the home cooked meals and my parents to guide me.
You know, I hear that a lot. I think there's definitely something to that. It's like, okay, you know, for so many years, like our parents, they keep us in this structure. And I mean, sometimes as kids, we tend to like break out a little bit when we can, but like, you know, when you get out of home and you get out of that structure, it's like, okay, now it's a free for all. It's like when you first get your license and you're like, okay, now I can pretty much go wherever I want, do whatever I want, for the most part. And you just go out, you're like, all right, I'm going to eat here, I'm going to go here, whatever it is. And so I think there's definitely something to that. It's like you get out of the house, you're on your own, and you're like, all right, well, now I'm going to make my own structure, or what I think is structure.
Yeah. And I remember my freshman year of college, Just thinking back on it now, I was just kind of ignorant, didn't really know much. But I remember thinking, okay, I'm not going to drink the dark sodas because they're worse for me.
Right.
I'm not going to be having milkshakes and ice cream every night. And so for most of my meals, I had orange juice and Sprite. Yeah. Looking back on it now, like Sprite is just awful and orange juice is full of sugar, and like that's all I was drinking. Not that that's the only reason that I gained weight, but
right.
There was a lot I didn't know at the time.
Yeah. I think drinks definitely contribute to a lot of it though. Like, yeah. I mean, unless you're somebody that's like, double fisting like triple burgers or something, like drinks definitely have like this crazy like hold of your body. Like I just remember like going after like the sweet tea and the soda and stuff like that, and it was just all I ever drank, and I couldn't even imagine water. Now it's the complete opposite. I can't imagine a life without water. Isn't that I mean, do you go through that?
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I don't know. I used to a little, early 20s still. My husband and I would sit at home, and whenever we'd go grocery shopping, we'd each buy our own 30-pack of soda.
Oh wow!
For the week, and and that would last us maybe a week. And I just like I don't know, just really bad habits, just really, really bad habits, and not really thinking about how it was affecting me
right.
at all, health, mentally, like physically, anything.
I thought you were going to say that we got it for a week and it lasted us like 2 or 3 days. And I was going to say, I could definitely relate to that.
Oh. No, I don't think I was ever that bad, but yeah. And even still, like it was, most of the time I would get Diet Coke, which doesn't have the calories, or sugar, but it's still soda.
Yeah, it's got the aspartame and all that stuff in it.
Right. And if it wasn't Diet Coke, it was Dr. Pepper. So.
Oh, Dr. Pepper was awesome though, right?
I can't even drink it anymore. My husband still drinks it. He doesn't have a weight problem, but it's been so long since I've had a sugar, like a soda with sugar, that if I take a sip of his Dr. Pepper, it just grosses me out.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how long it's been. It's probably been about a little bit over 3 years now since I've had a soda. I'm trying to imagine like what it would be like if I took a sip, and I would probably imagine it would probably gross me out. Yeah, you're right about that, I think.
Yeah, just like you can feel the syrup and just not good.
The heaviness, like you would take like one sip of it. Like, I remember like a hot summer day, like oh, let me get a cold Coke.
Right.
And you'd go and chug it. And then like you'd get like a quarter of the way through and your body would already feel so heavy.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm like, man.
Refreshing, and yeah, I can't do sugar really.
Yeah. Did you ever used to go for the Cokes like early in the morning, like first thing in the morning?
Yeah, so in college, I worked at the Subway on campus.
Okay.
And I would open, so I'd be there at 5, 6 a.m. and just go straight for a soda or a sweet tea.
Yeah, I remember McDonald's was my thing, and I would go in the morning sometimes and have like the steak, egg, and cheese bagel with the large Coke, not even just the medium Coke. I had to have the large Coke, light ice. There was something about the McDonald's Coke. I don't know. People say that many people say, so I don't feel like I'm going crazy, but many people say like it's somehow like different than like regular Coke in a can. And I think there's something to that, because I would drink theirs and no matter what McDonald's I went to, and it would always give me that better effect versus like a 20-ounce bottle or even a can or a glass bottle.
Yeah. I can see that. I know I do still drink Diet Coke, not excessively like I used to, but yeah, I do still drink it, and there is a difference between fountain and bottle and can.
Yeah, and whatever McDonald's is putting in, they must have like cut a deal with Walter White, like they're just throwing all kinds of drugs in there or something. It gotta be, right? I mean, it's just so addicting, or it was at least.
Yeah. Well, speaking of McDonald's, I worked at McDonald's for like 3 weeks several years ago.
No kidding.
The amount of sugar they put in that sweet tea. It's just appalling. I think it's like a 3-gallon or 5-gallon, canister.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was a whole bag and a half of sugar.
Oh my God.
So bad.
When I worked there, they didn't have the tea yet. I was working there in like 1999.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it was when you were there. Was everything like still like free? Like you could just have whatever you wanted?
No, I didn't. I only got 50% off, I think, or something.
Really? Not even like one free meal.
No, I don't remember ever getting free meals.
Man, they're cutting back, McDonald's. They must be in trouble.
Well, and it might depend on if it's franchise or corporate too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. If it's a franchise, they're trying to cut back on those losses.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I worked there, like everything was free and you could literally have whatever you want. And I was back there like popping chicken nuggets in my mouth while I'm making the food. It was disgusting.
I was like that at Subway.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. Subway, because they make some good sandwiches there at Subway, and they got a lot of fresh ingredients.
It's even better when you can experiment and make it exactly how you want it.
Yeah. What was your specialty at Subway? What were you known for?
Well, just for my own sandwich, I would do. I ate actually a lot of veggie sandwiches. I'm not vegetarian or anything, but
right.
A lot of veggie sandwiches with like double American cheese and
yeah,
and just like super simple cheese, tomato, cucumber, and I think I did mayonnaise.
Yeah,
and that was like my go-to.
People look at me like I'm crazy because I like American cheese versus like some of the fancier stuff, and I'm like, man, there's just no comparison to American cheese.
Yeah, it's creamier, I guess.
Yes, I agree. I mean, unless it's like the Velveeta, like liquid cheese, because that's probably another one that I would go to, like, Shells and Cheese or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and so Subway, that place, I could only imagine the damage I would have done there if I worked there back in the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like when you're, when you're in college and you're like going through this weight gain, you said you didn't really like realize, what was happening at first. Like, when did you have a realization? Because I think we all have like a moment or, a picture or something, like something happens and it kind of triggers that. Like, what was that for you?
I think for me, it was, so I ended up actually dropping out during spring break of my senior year. Had some kind of personal issues with my family and just was really not happy with the school that I chose to go to.
Right.
My husband, boyfriend at the time, now husband, he's younger than me. So he was still living at home an hour and a half away. Just upset. So I ended up dropping out and moving in with him and his parents. And we decided to go visit our old high school one day while they were still in session. And I remember getting ready and thinking, are they even going to recognize me?
Right.
Like the teachers and any of the students, are they going to recognize me? Because at that point, I think I had gained probably 50 pounds in less than a year, which is a lot. And so I just remember kind of being nervous about that and pain. I've never been somebody who wore a lot of makeup, who put a lot of effort into my hair. Like I dressed decent, wore a little bit of makeup, but I remember that day, like I kind of went all out and made sure that my hair was spot on. My makeup was extravagant just because I felt like it would kind of take away from the fact that I had gained so much weight.
Yep.
And I guess that's when I really noticed consciously that I was not healthy anymore.
You have anybody like say anything to you? Not necessarily like, direct, like, hey, I noticed something, but like, because I feel like sometimes we, when we gain the weight, a lot of times people will have like a certain way of saying stuff and like, what they mean, but they don't actually come out and say it. Did you deal with anything like that?
I mean, I kind of dealt with that growing up.
Yeah.
From my stepmom. Like I said, I wasn't real heavy in high school. I was actually pretty at a healthy weight.
Yeah.
As a child, I was slightly overweight, but that was when I was real young, like 5 and under. And then when my dad got custody of me, I ate healthier and leveled out as I grew up. But even still, my stepmom always kind of made comments about how I needed to lose weight and stuff, which was ironic because she was always bigger than me. But
Yeah.
really, the only instance that stands out was several years later. I had gained, I think at that point, 100 pounds. This was just about 5 years ago, maybe. My husband, my roommate, and I went on a camping trip in the mountains, and I was standing outside with the dogs while they went inside to go to the restroom. And I was on the sidewalk, the street right there, and this car of stoners pulls up. They're obviously stoners. I live in Colorado, by the way, so I see it everywhere. But they pull up. They're a few years younger than me, late teens, early 20s. And one of the guys leans out the windows, and he's just like, "You're fat. You're like really fat." And I just kind of stood there shocked because that is the first time anybody's ever come out and said it.
Yeah.
I've said it, I'd said it about myself plenty of times, but, and it just, some stranger was walking by and she kind of like, I guess she heard, she stopped right in front of me and she didn't say anything, just started petting my dogs, like, and it was nice because I felt like she was kind of trying to protect me without drawing attention to it.
Yeah. Yep.
And, oddly enough, even though that really upset me, it didn't spark a weight loss journey or anything.
Yeah. Well, I think plus, like, you consider the source. It's like some random stoner, guy.
Right.
Like, I think this guy has bigger problems to deal with,
Yeah.
We'll pray for that guy. But yeah. I mean, I guess, sometimes it takes a while to really get the spark going. And so you mentioned, you were kind of on a couple of different times over the last few years. So, what would happen basically? You would get going and what was it that what was the issue that would make you stop? Was it like life circumstances? Was it a motivation thing? Like, what was it that kind of led to this up and down kind of behavior?
I think it was a combination. So I feel like I don't have ADD or anything, but I do lose interest. I'm one of those people that I'll see some craft at the store, I'll pick it up, I'll play with it for half an hour and then never touch it again.
Yeah, I can relate.
And I'm like that with a lot of things in my life.
Yeah.
And so, I'd go hard. I also think that I am overconfident in myself sometimes. So as far as the weight loss thing, I would sit down and, make out my plan, and it would be just a complete 180, complete overhaul of my eating habits.
Right.
Starting today, I'm not going to have anything that has sugar. I'm not going to have any soda. I'm not going to have any carbs. Like, just going to do a complete 180. And that's great for short term, but I can't do it long term. I need to, cut out one thing at a time or just make small changes. And I always think I can do it, and then I can't. I just fall off, and all of a sudden, a month later, I'm like, oh yeah, remember I was dieting last month.
Yeah, I think that's a thing that plagues a lot of people. You're definitely not alone. I mean, there's a lot of people that will set unrealistic goals. They don't think they're unrealistic. I mean, I'm guilty of this too, believe me. And I mean, I feel like they set a lot of unrealistic goals, and when they don't achieve them, they feel like a failure. And what happens? It's like, okay, our mental instability takes over and we think the worst of ourselves. And not that we ever really gave ourselves a chance in hell anyway, because let's face it, so often we just think the worst of ourselves, or maybe not even the worst, but we just don't give ourselves enough credit. And then boom, if everything falls apart, and it's like, well, what the hell? Why do I even bother?
Yeah. That actually reminds me, in one of your previous episodes, I wrote it down as 53 and a half because it wasn't numbered and it was like 10 minutes long.
Oh, it's probably a bonus one. Yeah.
Yeah. It was basically you talking about like, don't start over whenever you have a bad day, a bad week, a bad month.
Oh yeah.
And I really liked that because, and I know I'm not alone here, but I know that I'm guilty of doing that with myself if I fall off, because even though I say I've been on this journey since the end of January, I have had, a whole week where maybe I didn't do so well, went over all my calories. But I liked that episode because it kind of made me think, like, of course I'm not starting over. Like, that's obvious.
Yeah.
Why didn't I realize that? I'm not going back to my starting weight. I'm not having a bad weekend and saying, I messed up, might as well gain that 50 pounds back.
Yep.
So that I can start over. So, I mean, it made sense. I liked that.
Yeah, I think sometimes we just have to call ourselves on our own BS because we're like, all right, I'm starting over, hashtag brand new me. It becomes an Instagram post to grab for attention. Like, hey, I'm starting over. I'm the baddest bitch on the block. Here we go. It's new me. Let's go. And really, it's like we're not like set up to go back into it that quickly. And it's like, ultimately we kind of fall into the same stuff. I've done this cycle over and over and over again for years, whether it be health, whether it be this very podcast. Cause I could point out a couple of years, like 2015 and 2016, where I'm just, saying I'm going to do all these things and nothing ever happens. And I mean, we do this so often to ourselves. I still can't figure out why we do this to ourselves, but we do it. And no matter who, we still deal with these same issues. It just depends on when they pop up and decide to wreak havoc on our lives.
Right.
Yeah. It's just, it can be tough.
It is recharging.
Yeah, I think sometimes you just need to take like, a weekend off or even a week and just see like, okay, you just think about it like, all right, what can I do? What can I, what's realistic? What can I recommit to? It doesn't have to be an entire restarting. It's not like Mario fell in the hole and now you start at level 1-1 again. Like,
yeah,
you just keep, it's one continuous motion.
And one thing, so my stepmom actually signed me up for Weight Watchers earlier in the year. And so since she paid for it, I did it for 3 months.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of just the structure. I mean, it works for a lot of people, but not a huge fan for me. But one thing that I did like is in one of the meetings, somebody was talking about, I'm just really craving this, or I think like brownies or something. And she's like, I've just been thinking about it all week. I just really want some brownies. And people, a few people were like, oh, we'll eat this instead and eat this instead. And
yeah.
And the little teacher leader lady, she was like, no, she was like, eat the brownies, eat it and move on with your life.
Yeah.
Don't overindulge. Just if you're having a craving that you can't get out of your mind, just eat it and move on, so that you're not miserable. And I'm like, that's good advice. And so I do that, cheesecake is pretty much the only dessert I like. So if I really want cheesecake, then I go get a little small piece from the grocery store.
That's actually a good choice. If you're going to eat something really bad, that's a pretty good choice. I like a good cheesecake.
Yeah. That's pretty much the only dessert I'm a fan of.
Yeah. I found the greatest hack for something like that. One of the things I used to be really guilty of was stopping off for milkshakes. Yeah. And I know you went back and listened to some of the podcasts. I'll spare you and the other listeners who hate when I repeat myself about the McDonald's order, but I'll drill in on the milkshake part of it. And that used to be like a daily staple. And so once in a while in the last 2 years, since I've like really focused on my health and attempted to lose the weight, what I found was, there would be a couple of like really bad days in there somewhere, usually not in the same week, but just like one random day out of the blue and everything goes wrong and I'm just miserable. So what I found was, letting myself have a milkshake, but making it like the smallest one they have or like a kid size, as opposed to the large I used to get. It's like, all right, well, give me the smallest one you have. So it's like you're giving that body just a little bit of it, just enough to satisfy the craving without, as you would say, overindulging. I mean, I think that's the best way. It's not, I'm never going to have this again, or I'm not allowed to have this again. It's just, well, I'll have this a little bit right now. And maybe in a couple of months, if this mood comes back, I'll have a little bit of it again.
Yeah. I think that's important too.
Yeah.
It goes back to like the small changes. And in addition to the small changes, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm dieting, and for me that doesn't work. It's not that I'm dieting because I'm fitting my food around my lifestyle. My husband and I go out and try new restaurants, and we usually like to get like green chili covered fries.
Right.
That's really popular here, and so I'll get it once a month when we go out. I'm not just going to deprive myself of things that are important to me, which is going out with my husband for dinner a few times a month and going out for drinks. Like I'm not going to deprive myself of that.
Well, I think that's key too, because there's again, it goes back to the mental aspect of it. It's like, yeah, you might say, okay, I'm not going to have this, and you may have enough willpower to not have it, and that's great. But if it sacrifices your mental stability, that's where I have the issue, and I won't compromise on that for anything. It's like, I said no more McDonald's, and I've been clean off McDonald's for 3 years. I make it sound like it's a drug, but really it was for me.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, if there's that burger or milkshake craving, I just go somewhere else to get it, but I get, like a smaller, like maybe it's a turkey burger instead of like a regular burger. Like I find ways to satisfy it in a smaller portion without, going to that place. But it all comes back to, I ask myself, number one, what is my mental status right now? And that to me, like, if I can answer that question and I can answer it that, oh, my mental status is good, then I'm good. But if it's not, that's the first place I go. It's not, oh, I need to go and run on a treadmill for an hour and kill myself because I feel like crap. Because if I'm not like straight up here in my head, I can't be straight in other ways.
Right.
So I think we have to get that first.
Yeah. It all goes back to mindset, because if you're not in that right mindset, then I don't see how you can succeed long term anyways.
Exactly. So what was it, would you say, that like set you up to where you're at now, where you're like feeling in a good spot and you're on the journey that's, going now? Like, what do you think it was that made it like different than the other times?
I think it was, I'm trying to think of the phrase, but that everyone uses, but like your why, your reason.
Yes.
So in the past, it's always been just because my husband is 6 foot tall, 180 pounds, like fit, handsome guy, and I want to look good so that I look good with him. And so I think that, and I don't think that's a good enough reason for myself.
Right.
And so this time, what started it in January was I was looking for some summer activities for us to do. And I came across the Royal Gorge website, and they have zip lining. And I was like, that would be awesome. That's something that we would both enjoy.
Yeah.
Never done it before. And so I'm just kind of browsing their website, looking to see when the season is, and see that there's a weight limit, and I am way over it. And it just kind of put me in a dark place for a little bit, because I was like, I can't do, there are limitations. Like my weight is causing me to not be able to do everything I wanted to do. I have two younger brothers. One just turned 21 yesterday, actually, and a 15-year-old brother. They're pretty active. I want to be able to just go out and do whatever I want when they're home for the summer.
Yeah.
Without having any sort of limitations. I basically just want to live and do what I want to do. And I think that reason has just been better for me than an appearance.
Yeah.
Reason.
I think sometimes we put appearance in front of everything. And I mean, it's fine to want to, feel good as far as how you look, but I think it's another thing. Yeah. It's like doing it for the right reasons. It's like that could be a part of it, but is that really number one? And it
might be for some people. It just obviously wasn't working for me because I've been struggling for 8 years.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And hey, ziplining sounds pretty badass. I remember as a kid in 6th grade, I did a zip line once, and I was absolutely terrified. I'd love to try to do it now.
Yeah.
I
think that do that next summer for sure.
What was their limit, by the way?
240.
Okay. Wow. I got a ways to go too.
Yeah, my weight at the time was 283.
Okay, that's about where I'm hanging at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, ziplining, that sounds like a lot of fun. When you start to lose the weight, it starts to come off. You're surprised at how much energy you have. And then like suddenly your mind's like, I want to do the craziest thing possible. Like I wanted to jump out of an airplane. And I still haven't done it yet because there's a pesky weight limit on that. And I still have a ways to go. I think that's around like 240, 250 as well. So I have a ways to go for that. But for some reason, not only do we gain all this energy, but we gain like this like will to want to do crazy stuff.
Right. And and I've held myself back from doing things, if friends are going to theme parks, water parks, hiking trips, anything, I've held myself back because I'm like, I don't think I can do that. I don't want to embarrass myself. Even on flights, I had to, was it back in November, I went to Texas to visit family, and I flew Frontier, or was it Frontier? Frontline? No, I don't know. One of the really, really small ones that's really only okay for super short trips.
Right.
But I was flying them, and I was terrified getting onto the plane that I would need an extender.
Yeah.
I hadn't flown in so long, and luckily I didn't. It just barely fit. And then back in March, I had to go back out to Texas for a funeral, and I had been on this journey for about 2 months and already lost a good, I think 20 pounds, and there was already several inches extra on the seatbelt. So that was nice, though I'm not worried about flying.
Yeah. It's always those little things that kind of motivate you. You see these things that like you could never imagine. Like I remember something stupid like going to a concert and like I could actually buy a shirt because, I used to wear like a 5X and now I wear a 2X. Yeah,
I remember you saying, I heard a few episodes where you talked about that.
Yeah, that's, just little things like that I think are enough to motivate us, like just we find like one little thing that was not possible before and it shows us that like, okay, these things are possible. We just have to believe in it.
And I think, so the Instagram, I'm not huge on social media. I'm new to Instagram. I still don't even post as often as I would like to just because I'm not on social media a lot. But I think the Instagram community has also helped me. And the reason is because I'm communicating with people like yourself and several others. I know we follow a lot of mutual people, but
yes.
And it just, to me, seeing people in the same situation is huge. Because somebody who has been at a healthy weight their entire lives, went to school, became a health coach or whatever, they don't understand fully that feeling of being able to buy a concert or a shirt at a concert.
Right.
And so, they don't because they haven't been there. And it's not that they're not knowledgeable about health and fitness, but everybody on Instagram that I follow has been in that situation or is in that situation or whatever. And it's really refreshing.
It's a lot more relatable. It's not some like know-it-all fancy pants that like just says, this is the way it is.
Yeah. I don't want to follow advice from somebody who has always been a size 6 or whatever.
Yeah, it's just hard to relate to. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. I just want to like talk to people who are in the same or similar positions because then I feel like they really understand.
Yeah, and not only that, but if they can do it, so can I.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why. I mean, I always post like some of the worst old pictures that I would never imagine because I'm like, someday somebody's going to click on this picture and say, all right, this is look at that. That gut's like hanging to the ground. All right, we can do this.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it every day. And then I look at what people are doing and I'm just like super motivated. I see people that are, 500 and 600 pounds that are out there, in the gym, like going hard. And I'm like, all right, I need to step my stuff up right here.
That's how I feel, especially with the gym. I'm not good at the gym.
Yeah. What do you think it is about the gym that you kind of have issues with?
I just am lazy. I mean, I will go consecutively for weeks, and then one thing will kind of derail me. Like I had some health issues,
Yeah.
like 2 months ago, and so I couldn't go for like 2 weeks, and I haven't been back since because I didn't want to. I didn't want to get back into the habit of doing it.
Yeah, it can be tough. I mean, you just like you said, like one thing causes you to change your whole day. And
Yeah.
like you may have had an issue, but you're like, oh, I get to go right home and I'm just like chilling or whatever. And then like, oh, I just want to do that tomorrow. I don't want to go back to the gym.
Yeah. I need to put it back in my schedule.
Yeah. I stopped going for 6 months because I was trying to work out from home, which was fine. But my problem is I get bored with stuff so easily. So I need to switch it up. It's like I went to the gym straight for 2 years and I'm like, oh, I'm just bored. I want to work out at home. And I worked out at home for like 6 months and I'm like, I miss all the people at the gym. I want to go back now.
Yeah. I like my gym because they have a cardio theater.
Cardio theater? What's that about?
It's a huge screen, not as big as a movie theater, but it's massive projector screen, and they play movies. They'll play the same movie all day and change the movie every day. And they've got stationary bikes, treadmills, and ellipticals. And it's dark and cool.
This sounds like an absolute blast.
It's awesome. It's really nice.
Is this like a chain gym or is this like a one-off mom and pop shop gym?
It's a chain. It's called Choose. It's CHUZE.
Okay. I doubt we have those in Virginia, but my God, I need to visit one of these.
They might. They're all over. We've got. They've opened 3 in Colorado in the last like 2-3 years.
I think somebody was probably high as hell when they came up with that idea. I mean, it's a good idea. They were just like, man, can you imagine a dark room with a movie theater and we're just going to put all this cardio stuff and go crazy?
It's pretty awesome. And it's super cheap. It's only $10 a month.
Oh, that's amazing. That's even better.
Yeah.
God, I'm paying $20 right now. And I thought I was getting a deal. I need to renegotiate my deal. Planet Fitness, get at me, people. It's got a deal.
Yeah.
No, that's a hell of a deal, and you get to go into like a movie theater type setting and get your exercise done with a big TV screen.
Yeah, it's massive. They play all sorts of movies. They play old and new and all sorts.
What was the last movie you saw there? Just give me one example.
Kingsman.
Kingsman. Okay, yeah, I haven't seen it, but I know the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. They've played a lot. They'll do like Harry Potter and Fast and Furious.
Oh,
They'll play like the 80s too.
Man, that sounds like a blast. Yeah. Well, you talked about getting into the Instagram. Whatever you do, just don't sit on it in the parking lot out front of the gym, because that was one of my biggest problems. I would get there to the gym, I would sit in my car for like 25 to 30 minutes on Instagram, and then I'd go in the gym and I wouldn't want to do anything. I would do it. I'd force myself through it, but I was like, man, this is not the way to go.
Yeah, I didn't really have that problem when I was going to the gym. I prefer going in the morning before work.
Right.
Just because it is a chore and I want to get it over and done with. So I go, because if I try and go after work, I'm just not going to want to. I want to go home. I want to eat.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with my dogs.
I would totally be better off working out in the morning. I'm with you, but the problem is I have to get up at 4:30 every morning. So I couldn't imagine like getting up at 3:30 instead of 4:30.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be good. I don't have to work until 8, so I can just go to the gym at 6.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. I would do that. I would do that schedule all day long or all week long. Yeah. No problem.
Yeah.
Are you a morning person? Are you like good with the mornings?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah,
and
same here.
Even like, I don't have to eat before I go to the gym.
Yeah.
I'm fine just going and eating when I get to work at 8. So mornings work better for me.
I'm such a morning person. My body wakes me up at 6 o'clock in the morning on weekends. You ever have that problem?
That's how I was all weekend, even though I didn't go to bed till like 1.
Yeah.
It was awful.
You go to bed like I would literally stay up on the weekend like so ridiculously, disgustingly late that like my body wouldn't possibly imagine waking me up at 6:00 in the morning. But alas, here we are, Sunday morning after a Saturday up all night, just like getting right up. I was editing the podcast that's coming out next week, and I was up all freaking night, and it just, no problem. My body just got right up, and I'm just like, this is like one of those unexpected side effects, I think, of weight loss, where it gets me up this early in the morning, and I have no intention of wanting to be up that early.
Yeah. Have you had any other like negative, just kind of going off that, any other negative side effects of your weight loss?
I don't know. I feel like, maybe when I go to the gym, I get so like energized that like maybe I go too hard sometimes and I end up like hurting myself, which is not good. Like, like maybe you run too fast and like, okay, now your ankle's sore for a day and a half or something like that.
Right.
I have those problems. And then because I drink too much water now, of course, using the restroom multiple times a day, that's a whole, I go through a gallon a day.
That's good.
Yeah, I blame Danny. Do you follow Discovering Danny?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's Lexi, Fat Girl Fed Up's husband. The first time I met those guys, they both had a gallon jug, and he and I were talking about the guy. I'm like, man, you got a gallon, man, you're going hard. He's like, yeah, dude, I'll go through like one of these in a day, sometimes a gallon and a half. And like that first Monday, I was like, I really want a gallon of water now. I don't know why. I just felt like I felt compelled to have it. And so now, ever since then, I don't go a day without a full gallon of water.
Is your water bottle a gallon?
Well, I actually just go to Walmart and I buy the little 60-cent gallon. It's kind of stupid, like, because sometimes I have like OCD kind of stuff. And so like I have to go to Walmart and buy, or somewhere that has a gallon jugs, and I have to buy 7 gallons, one for each day. And so I'll go through and I'll drink 1 gallon each day, throw the thing out. But it's just me for like measuring the water. So it's like, okay, when I kill this gallon, obviously that's a gallon, and then I know that I got my water in for the day.
I wonder if it's easier that way, because I just use like a 32-ounce tumbler.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll just get a gallon. Well,
the only problem with the gallon is just like, it doesn't stay cold all day. So if you're somebody that has to have cold, that could be an issue. For me, it's not a big thing, because like I don't mind drinking room temp water, but it starts out cold. So like they're in my fridge, and I'll for like the first 5 or 6 hours it's cold, and then it's slowly starts to get not like uncontrollably warm, but just like less than cold. And I'll go through that gallon. It usually will take me about 12 hours to finish it. I don't try to rush it, because the problem is when you try to rush it, it's like you feel like really bloated. And I think being bloated is one of those things that contributes to like, bad mental feelings, like, oh God, I'm so fat. And then like you have all those problems where like you think, oh, I've gained 10 pounds in a day and I've done all this and that. And it leads to like some really bad thoughts. So I try to pace myself and just go slowly through the day.
Yeah. No, I think that's good.
Yeah. So water can definitely be your best friend, because it'll clean you out. And I think that that's a great thing that you can have, especially if you have like one of those bad days, like we're talking about earlier, like where if you have to just splurge and eat something really bad, if I know I'm going to be on one of those days, I will guzzle the hell out of some water, because I know that in the end, in the days right after that, as I get back to my routine and I've drinking the water, it's going to flush all that stuff out.
Right.
So yeah, so it won't just hang out there, and because I've had that too, where you have the bad day and you kind of crash and you break down, but this is before I was drinking the excessive amount of water, and so I still would feel crappy 2 or 3 days in. It would take me like almost a week to recover from that one bad day. So, where would you say you're at like right now? Are you, as far as with your goals and all that, what are you looking towards right now?
Um, right now, short-term goal is to get to the weight that's on my driver's license.
Okay.
So about 15 more pounds.
Okay.
I've been so I joined somebody's challenge where I didn't weigh myself for 2 months. And I think that kind of messed with me. I didn't last the full 2 months.
Right.
And so after a month, I weighed myself, and then I waited 2 weeks, weighed myself again, and did nothing changed. Weighed myself again, and nothing changed. So I've been kind of at a stand still for the last few months, or for the last month.
Right.
And I think part of it is water. I need to drink more water. And then just, I think that's the main thing. And then I've had family in town, and my brothers are home from school. And so I've just been going out more, and need to make sure that I'm not going out too much, so that I'm not overindulging.
Yeah.
I'm feeling confident though. I don't feel like I've messed anything up. I haven't gained weight. I don't feel like I've failed. I've just been at the same weight for a few weeks, and that's fine. I'll get there eventually,
Yeah, I mean, I've been hovering at the same weight for probably months, and I wouldn't call this like my quote unquote goal weight. I really don't have a goal weight anymore. It's just kind of, where do I feel, happy and content at, and right now this is kind of where I'm at, and I'm still working on it. It's still a daily thing, but I think when we give a little less power to the scale and a little more power to just how we feel in general, like, feeling how our clothes fit, or just where we're at mentally. And as long as we're in a good spot there, then that's really what counts. We stay active, we drink the water, and it all kind of, as my friend Daryl would say, it kind of just works itself out in the end.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. It may not be overnight, but it will work itself out in time if you just stay on a forward track.
Yeah, no, I think that's very accurate. And I have a coworker who's fairly new, and she's overweight, and we've talked about her because she's been wanting to lose weight, and everybody told her that I've lost a ton of weight, and so she asks me questions sometimes, but the other day she showed up at work and was like, yep, she's like, I'm intermittent fasting and I'm keto, just all in. I'm like, okay. I'm like, good for you. Like, try it. And then, 2-3 days later, she was like, no, she was like, this isn't working for me. I'm hungry all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, the first 2 to 3 months of this year was a huge learning curve. I did no carbs for the first few weeks, and then all of a sudden I did Weight Watchers, and then I did counting calories, and then I've tried a lot of different things over the first few months, just learning what works for me, doesn't work for me, and I'm still learning 6 months later. I'm like, it's okay if you want to dive in, head first and just try something all out, but don't let it discourage you if it doesn't work. Just learn from it and find, try the next thing.
Yeah, I love that, because I think there is people that will just jump on stuff because it's trendy. It's like, keto right now is like the hot girl or the hot guy at the bar that you really want to go home with. Like, that's like the attractive thing, right? Like, everybody talks about it, and I think it works for a lot of people. I think there's a reason. It's not just all hype. There is a reason that it's people are out there and doing it. But at the same time, it's like saying, I'm going to get on keto just because I've seen a million other people do it and it seems like the hot thing to do. I think maybe it's for the wrong reasons. Now, if you say, okay, you look at it objectively, I just want to try it and see what happens. That's great. You try and you'll fail, you try and fail, you try and fail. And eventually you're going to try and you're going to win. Gary Vee talks a lot about, having to learn how to lose and loving to lose, because it teaches you how to win, how to teach it, how eventually how to win. So the trial and error and going through all this stuff is great. It could be a great learning experience. I fell victim to a lot of that early on. I tried a bunch of the different diets myself, and eventually I found that I just had to go with what worked for me, which was pretty much portion control, subbing out a few things here and there. And that really was what worked for me. And I think the answer is going to be different for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's my best friend. She wasn't hugely overweight. I don't even think she was overweight to begin with, but she wanted to lose, 20, 30 pounds. And she did keto, and it worked for her for a long time. And then after keto, she had some health problems come up, so she gained some weight back. And then she kind of did a variation of keto where she, would have carbs every now and then, or however it works.
Yeah.
But now she's just maintaining, and so it worked for her. I tried keto for 2 weeks, and it just didn't work for me. I don't like red meat. I'm not a big fish person. And, I wasn't getting what I needed to be in ketosis or whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah.
Also, it's really involved, and
it really is.
I'm lazy. I don't want to keep counting all the fat that I'm eating and all the, I don't want to do that. So for me, it's calorie counting and portions, which goes hand in hand with calorie counting.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a big tech guy, so I feel like keto people are like Android people. They love to like hack their phone and ROM and mod it and all this stuff. And I feel like all these people are the same thing. Like it has to be very involved. I think for a lot of people, they have to has to be like a certain like specific thing. And so like I feel like those people are like one and the same. And I probably just pissed off a lot of people. It's all in love. I love all of you. Relax. Don't at me.
If it works for you, do it.
Yes.
Do whatever works for you. But yeah, the point I was making is, yes, huge learning curve the first few months, learning about myself, learning about, I can't think of any specific examples, but I know there were a few items I was shocked that were so, bad for me, or not necessarily bad, but like way more calories than I thought.
Yeah.
Actually, even today, just learned, my coworker mentioned, we were talking about we were talking about Subway, and I can't remember exactly what we were talking about, but she was like, oh yeah, did you know that the tortillas actually have more calories than the bread?
That's crazy.
I'm like, no, there's no way. And so I looked it up, and the tortillas are about 50 calories more than just the bread. And I'm like, I would have never guessed that.
I've been doing this wrong, Destiny. I've had this all wrong. I thought if I went for the thinner bread, like I thought I was going to win.
Like I thought I was, I don't know, I guess just in my head, it made sense that the tortillas would be the lower calorie option, but I guess not.
Oh man, we failed on that one.
Yeah.
We're just going to take the L and come back tomorrow for a new day, I think.
There we go. Recharge.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? I think we need that gift, that the more you know, the NBC gift that'll just wave above our heads, because I didn't know that. And now that just gives me an excuse to go and get the Italian herbs and cheese bread. Go back on that again.
There you go.
Well, look, I've had a blast chatting with you for the last hour or so. Tell people on Instagram where they can find you, because that's where most of our people hang out at.
So really, I'm just on Instagram, and my username is @WatchDesLose. And that's really all I do. My account's, I'm pretty sure my account's public, but if you follow me, then I will most likely follow you back.
I just got you on there. I am terrible with Instagram. That may or may not surprise a lot of people. I am terrible with it. If I am not an immediate follow back, I don't want people to take it personal, because I'm just not very good at it half the time.
That's how I am too, because I'll get 10 to 15 at one time and just not even think about it, and then 3 days later, I'm like, oh, I have all of a sudden 30 or 40 that I need to follow back.
Yeah.
I don't get on every single day.
Yeah, actually, that's probably a good question or two before we go real quick. So, like, how did you get on the how did you get on the Instagram as far as like, oh, I want to document my journey on there? Like, how did you find your way into like the weight loss community?
So I already had Instagram, and I think the first picture that I posted this year, anyways, was me walking the dogs, and I started looking through hashtags about weight loss and started just following a ton of people.
Right.
And I was like, this will probably be a really good way for me to keep myself accountable, because usually, I'll do it where none of my friends and family can see it, or I'll do it where only my friends and family can see it. But now it's a mixture. So I've got, my brothers and my stepmom and just all sorts of people on my Instagram, as well as, other people in the community that I don't know face to face. And so it's all just kind of, everybody comes together. I'll go over to my dad's and my stepmom's like, oh, that post was so funny. And, oh, that looked great. Send me the recipe, like just having that familial and non-familial support, I guess.
Yeah.
Has been helpful.
See, folks, the hashtags, they work. I've been trying to tell people on my Patreon. I did a whole month of Instagram tips, like one every day. And so if you subscribe, you can go back and listen to it, everybody. But I try to tell people hashtags is where it's at. That's where you find the people.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'll just find one that I feel like, because there's a lot of people who use, weight loss as just a hashtag, and that's great. I use it too. But one of the ones that I really like to find people to follow is like obese to fit, or something that's more specific to wanting to lose 100 pounds or more, because then I know it's people that actually want to lose a large amount of weight. And so it's people that I can relate to, like we were talking about earlier.
Oh, absolutely. That's 100% where you want to be. And I'll tell you and everybody else, the hashtag to watch is hashtag hard work always wins. I hear a wise man once started Instagramming about that, and a bunch of people started using it. And so if you want to find some motivation and support, that is another one to check out and add to your rotation of hashtags. You get 30 of them. That a lot of people don't realize that you can actually use 30 of them, no more. And you can certainly use less, but definitely use all 30 of them to your advantage. I would say that.
Yep.
Well, Destiny, I really appreciate the chat. It was good jumping on here. Thanks for taking a chance on me and hopping on and having a good conversation.
Well, thank you. I had fun. This was a good first experience.
Definitely. I agree. And we'll catch you on the gram.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good night.
You too. Remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a little thing called Patreon? Well, I'd love to have you join me. But Gary, what is Patreon? It's a website that is helping small creators like me raise funds to further expand their creative visions. For as low as $1 a month, you can help me further my dream of reaching as many people as possible and eventually taking the show on the road to meet all these fine people face to face and add a video element to this podcast. If you were to donate $4 a month, you'd be hearing this show a few days earlier with no commercials and getting access to my close friends group on Instagram. Donate $10 a month and you get all that plus your name right at the beginning of the show alongside other producers. But act fast. That tier is limited to 10 people. I've got a whole lot more to offer, and you can get all the details over at patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for checking out the show, and I'll talk to you again really soon. hardworkalwayswins.com. It's more than just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I speak it, I wear it, I live it, and I'd love to have you join the Hard Work Squad. We're constantly adding new items to the store, including our brand new Future-ish hats, which come in a variety of colors, including camo. I mean, who doesn't like camo? We also just put our famous Splash logo in gold to match our OG logo, and there's so much more here. You just got to check it out. Here's the best part. Use the code PODCAST at checkout to take 10% off of your very first order and join the Hard Work Squad today.